Welcome back to another Orc tutorial. Today we're going to take a look at different attack formations that you can use when attacking a base, and I'm going to share some tips that you can apply to reduce the risk of getting trapped or to avoid getting trapped completely. I hope the tips in this guide will be helpful to you and that you learn something new. Alright, let's get into it. The first one I'm going to show you is a 2-1 rotation. This means 2 orcs will be pushing the lane and 1 orc in the back will be guarding. What you need to think about when you push is to hug one wall with each orc. In this case, one orc will be as close as possible to the top wall, while the other orc will be as close as possible to the bottom wall. This makes it so that the passage is body blocked, if you position this correctly, and the elves will be unable to do a run-by trap. And for the orc in the back, the objective is to zone the enemies that are coming from other lanes, like from here, here, or here, and attempt to trap your allies. And if a worker approaches from one of those sides, the orc in the back can zone them away, attack them, or possibly kill them. So you're posing a threat to trappers trying to get a back block. So if we show this in practice, it will look something like this. The grey orc goes into the front as close to the block line as possible. This allows a second orc to come in from the back and hit the wall. And now the two of you can attack together. The grey orc is as close to the top wall as possible, and the bottom orc, light blue, is as close to the bottom wall as possible. This makes it so that the passage is body blocked and red cannot run through here. And when grey is injured, you simply swap. Grey takes over the guarding role. Light blue and brown goes into push. You keep the same formation. One is close to the top wall, one is close to the bottom wall, and as closely to the front wall as possible, and then you can attack together, and the passage will still be body blocked. So as you can see, red cannot get past here. And if somebody comes into back block, you have the orc in the back, ready to cover here, being able to scare away trappers from pushing here. And when the orc is injured, you simply swap again, and the other two orcs can attack together. And you body block the passage again, one close to the bottom, one close to the top. Trappers cannot get by from the front. Trappers will struggle to get in from the back because you have a guard who can zone them away and scare them. And this makes it very difficult for the elves to trap and kill you, and it allows you to have very high uptime on the base because you can pressure the base attacking non-stop. And when one orc is injured, they go to the back to guard, and the other two will be able to continue pushing, because by the time you get out of the lane, you probably have another two ready to go in again, being fully healed and recovered, and you can apply more pressure on the wall, essentially breaking into the base at some point when the elves run out of gold, and then you can start killing everything. And that is the first formation I want to show you. This is the most efficient one, generally speaking. It's safe, it's difficult to trap, it applies very high pressure, you can have almost 100% uptime, because one orc will be regenerating, and the other two will be pushing. The next attack formation I'm going to show you is a 2-2 split. That means 2 orcs will be pushing one lane, and the other 2 orcs will be pushing another lane. Generally speaking, you keep one orc in the back, guarding the position, covering all the possible entries that the trapper could come from to trap you. And on the opposite side, it will be this lane and this lane. While one orc is in the front, attacking from maximum distance to the blocker is generally safer. And when the trapper approaches to trap you, it gives you more space and distance between you and the wall, and you and the trapper. So when you see the trapper makes a motion towards you, you simply step back in the lane, and if the trapper goes too far out, you can possibly hit them, scaring them back into the base. And if they get too greedy, you might even kill them when they try to do this. So to demonstrate this, you go in, you attack from maximum distance, leaving roughly this space between me and the wall. If the trapper comes out to trap you, you can see the motion when they move towards you, and then you step back. When the trapper goes too far, like this, there's not a lot of threat of being trapped in this region, and you also have the guard to help you. Then you can attack the trapper, scare them back into the base, possibly kill them, and then you can resume attacking the wall. And you simply repeat this pattern. So when the trapper goes out, you go back, and when the trapper goes back into the base, you go back to attack. And you have this little dance with the trapper that you can do to prevent yourself from getting trapped, or at least making it more difficult for the trapper to get past you. And the only thing you need to make sure are that the trapper never get next to you, close enough to put up the wall, like this. This is roughly the maximum blocker space you need in order to put up the wall. And as long as the elf never gets this close to you, they will not be able to trap you. If a trapper comes in from the back, then the guard will be able to zone them away if they are attentive, harming, killing or scaring the trapper away, and keeping you safe from the back as well. This makes it quite difficult for the elf to backblock you, and you can do this in multiple lanes at the same time. So if someone tries to backblock on the right, the guard can cover, hitting the worker, scaring them away. When you're injured, you swap positions, you go in, you take over with the guard, and the previous attacker becomes the guard on that side. And you can apply pressure like this on multiple sides at the same time, forcing the baser to go between this lane to re-wall and the other side to re-wall at the same time. And you might not have the resources, manpower or multitasking to maintain this as an elf. Another advantage of this are that the damage of the army might be split between the two lanes, so that in this case all of the army is focused on the grey orc on the top, while the brown orc on the right here can attack without being harmed by the army. You might also run into a scenario where the damage is split between the two of you, so some of the army is attacking the orc on the left and some of the army is attacking the orc on the right. And this way, since the firepower is spread, both of you can attack for a longer time before you need to back off. The next strategy I'm going to show you is a variation of the 2-2 split push. You can do this in particular circumstances, and if the conditions are right, you can do this to great effect, and it can be extremely efficient if you want to apply high pressure to the base without getting killed. But if you do this in the wrong circumstances, you're at great risk of dying, and you might end up losing the game by using this formation. So what you want to look for when doing this is a base where there are two short lanes that you can push from. In this case, you have this short lane on the left side here, and you have the short lane on the right side. So you want to split push using 2 orcs on the left and 2 orcs on the right, pushing from one side each. And you're going to body block the passage so that one orc is blocking the cliffs, blocking by hugging close to the walls in the front and standing close to the wall on the top. The other orc is standing close to the wall on the bottom and as close to the other orc as possible. This will body block the passage so that trappers will be unable to do a run by trap from the front. You do the same thing in the opposite side. One orc is close to the walls in the front, as close as you can be, and then you hug the wall on the top with one orc and the wall on the bottom with the other orc. This will body block this passage as well. You never want to use this strategy in long passages leading into the base, and especially not long and twisted passages like this one. You see all the twists and turns going from the straight passage here to the straight passage here, to this one, and then finally out here on the other end. This is a nightmare for you to use this strategy on, because you have this entire passage to cover, and it's very easy for the elves to get in here to backblock you, and they can do that without being seen, because all of these little twists and turns in the passage allows the enemy to come in without being seen and being able to backblock without being detected. So you also want to avoid long and straight passages like this. Even if the passage is straight and you can see behind you when an enemy is approaching, it's very far to go from the blocker line where you will be pushing all the way back to the other end out here in the exit, where you are relatively safe from traps compared to being in this long path. So since the distance is too great for you to easily cover, you're at risk of being backblocked in this lane as well. So ideally, you look for a base with 2 short passages like this. The strategy is to use spells, vision and blight in order to prevent enemies from trapping you from the back, and also to give you vision and information when enemies are approaching from behind in order to set up walls or to try to trap you. So either you can use spells like Scryer to grant you vision over an area, and you rotate Scryers using Scryer of different orcs in order to take turns. So when the first Scryer disappear, the next orc use their spell, and you keep vision up constantly. This will detect invisible units, and it will give you vision over the area even if you can't see it. You can also use spells like Blight to blight up the passage, so that the enemies will be able to the enemy will be unable to build in the area. And then you can follow up with Haunt, giving vision over the gold mine. I'm going to try to show you this now. So the orc goes up, hugs one of the wall, as close to the wall as it can be, as close to the top as it can be. The other orc follows up, being as close to the other orc and as close to the cliff. Same thing on the other side. One orc up here, as close to the wall as they can go, as close to the cliff as they can be. And the other orc as close to the other orc as they can go, and as close to the opposite cliff as they can be. Then you attack the walls from two sides at the same time. And this prevents the trapper from in the base to go out and get past here. As you can see, red worker cannot get out here. The orcs are body blocking. If I try to trap on the other side, I'm getting body blocked here as well. Cannot get out, cannot build blockers. The orc in the back is body blocking the position where I would like to place the blockers. So I would not be able to build out there, because the orc is blocking where I want to build my blocker. If a trapper come in from the back, you will be able to see them with the vision from the haunted spirit. And even if the trapper gets up here without the orcs responding, they will be unable to build blockers here, because the path is blighted. And this entire black circle is unbuildable ground for the elves. Same thing applies on the other side. If a trapper comes in from the back, they will be spotted by the spirit as soon as they get in range. They comes up here, try to get the back block in, but they are unable to build blockers on the blighted ground. So this allows you to push very safely using vision and blight to your advantage. However, you need to use this strategy wisely, because if you do this in a lane where you don't have the proper setup, the coordination or the safety to do this without getting trapped, then you are at risk of getting all orcs killed at the same time, simply with an elf coming up from the back and walling you in there when there is no blight or if there is no vision to cover you. So if all orcs go in like this and you deep push, like I'm about to show you here, one orc is in the front as close to the wall as they can go, and the other orc come up in the back like this. You see how this area is hidden from their vision now, and they cannot see in the fog of war. And if you do the same thing on the other side, and you keep pushing like this, now you have zero vision in the back, and an elf can simply come up here, being completely line of sight in this area, come up here, build walls, trap you in, and you can do the same on the opposite side. And all of the orcs will eventually die to back blocking very easily if you don't guard or provide vision like this. And now the entire team are at risk of dying at the same time. So it requires you to do this with a proper setup for this to work, and if you don't do this, it's very dangerous. But during the right circumstances and with the right coordination, this can apply insane pressure to the base with very small risk. So use it at your own discretion and use it wisely. But at least you should know that this strategy exists and take advantage of it when the circumstances are right. The last formation we're going to look at today is a split push formation. This can be quite effective against large bases, and the larger the base is, the harder it is for elves to defend it, and the easier it is for orcs to split push it. So keep this in mind. It's quite a niche strategy. I think it's the least commonly used and safe one out of the techniques we've gone through today. You will have to use all the tools I've taught you in order to do this with relative safety, and it's generally not recommended to do this. So in this particular example, we got a base here on the bottom left. For elves, they need to defend 3 lanes in this base, and that's also where you can push as orc. This base here on the bottom right, the central path here in the middle, and on the top left up here. Usually when you have a larger base, you want a mobile army as an elf player. In this case that means archers, so we have a few archers here defending this base, currently located on the top section of the base, meaning that the area on the bottom here is undefended. So when you do this as an orc player, you need to pay attention to multiple things. First off is the trapping. So similarly to the split pushing I showed you before, you would like to attack this from maximum distance. So you leave some space between you and the blockers and you attack from as far away as you can in order to give yourself some space to see when trappers approach you and to back off when they move towards you and back in when they move away from you. You can also try to focus your attention on an area where the archers are currently not located. So when the archers are up top, you can focus on putting pressure here on the bottom. And when the archers leave to this area, then you can simply focus your attention on the area at the top. And every time the archers want to focus on another player, they need to relocate like this. And now the archers are on the bottom right to defend this area. This opens up an opportunity of attack for the orcs on the top to pressure from this lane and this lane on the side here. So utilize this to your advantage. So when the archers go to the bottom, you can begin putting pressure on the top. When a trapper approaches, you step back. When the trapper goes too far out, you can try to hit them as they go back in. And then you resume attacking the walls, preferably from maximum range, to avoid getting trapped. You also need to pay attention to back blocks. So if an elf approaches from the back like this, it will be outside of your field of vision. And it's quite easy for elves to come in and punish orcs doing a strategy like this, simply because they don't have guard, they don't have vision. And then they can put up walls behind, and grey will likely die here when the army transitions. Because green can stay here, keep building walls, keep reblocking. And it would take too long time for an orc to come all the way up here and all the way down here in order to defend him. And same thing on the bottom, for the orcs to get from this side all the way up here, and then all the way here, and all the way over here until they get to the location of green. That would take too much time to save the player who gets trapped. So generally speaking, if someone gets trapped when you do this, leave them alone, let them die, and you probably won't have the ability to save them even if you move all the way over there. You're not going to get there in time in order to break them out and get them out safely, for the most part. But there are some ways you can minimize risk by using vision tools. So either, for example, if Brown is pushing the lane here on the top on his own, the entire area behind him is covered in fog of war. So in order to make this less dangerous for Brown, where players can easily come in from the back here, trapping him in, and he can't even see it until the walls are up right here. That's the first vision he will have of the yellow player and his blockers when they are right behind him. So in order to minimize risk, you can scryer to grant vision over the area. You can alternate scryers in order to continue having vision over the area. When one scryer fades, someone else uses the ability, and you keep constant vision over an area where you normally can't see. Another option is to add abilities like Haunt and Blight, making the area unbuildable and granting you vision. So the Haunted Spirit will give me vision over this area, and the Blight will make the area unbuildable. So now, even if yellow comes up, I can see him once he enters this region. And now, even if he tries to get all the way over here, he cannot build any blockers because the area is blighted. So, on the bottom right, you can still do the same thing that you do on the other lanes, but you do this with a guard in addition. So if someone comes in from the back trying to block you in, the guard can zone the player away, try to hit, injure or kill them. And you also got the possibility that if a player gets trapped, now you have the guard who can come in and help, and you can break the player out together, so that it's less likely for you to die from traps. When a player is injured and need to rotate, you swap positions, and you keep resuming the attack. And if you play with trappers, you simply walk away when they walk out at you, and walk back when they walk back towards the base. And if you do this, you can push with relative safety, especially in the lane where you have the guard. You can make this even safer by applying Blight in the passage. Especially long passages like this are easier for you to blight and harder for elves to deny, because they need to walk further out in the lane in order to deny the blight, like this. So if you keep applying pressure and blight in the passage, they are not able to deny the blight as easily. Now the passage is body blocked and the blight will go off and I cannot stop it. So if you do something like this and you blight the passage and you haunt it, you can double push this on the bottom side, similar to the Orc all-in I showed previously, where you quad push with 4 and you blight up the passage and grant vision behind you in order to deny trapping that way. This way, when a player comes in from the back here to back block, you can see them coming when they enter the haunted zone, and even if they make it into the lane to trap, the area is blighted and they cannot build here. So this gives you complete safety, even double pushing here, and the elf would be forced to wall off either this section or this section, and for archers to push out all the way to this region in order to possibly get kills here. And that should give you some space and time to readjust and maybe zone the army away, or keep your allies safe by regenerating in the back while the more healthy ally cover and protect them from harm from the archers. So that's essentially the basics, but make sure that you always keep vision and blight up when you push from multiple lanes at the same time. I'm gonna try to do this at the same time now to demonstrate. So we have the army currently down here defending this side of the base. The guard is in the back in the bottom right. The area is for the most part blighted. The blight will disappear soon, but I'm reapplying it. We're going to pretend that green is very injured and need to back off. Since the army is currently occupied here on the bottom right, you can wait with attacking on the bottom right and simply let the archers relocate to the top to apply pressure up here. And now, when the army is gone, you can reapply pressure in this area by resuming the attack. And if you have good enough blight and vision behind you, you can even double push this by body blocking the passage on the bottom and on the top. And now the army is focused here on the top with grey. If someone comes into back block, he can see it, he can back off in time, and this player will not be able to do too much. And then you can chase them out of there. And if the army is busy on the player here, you can apply a lot of pressure on the lane on the south. And you can also resume attacking on the lane on the side here, but know that the archers may swap back to you if you do something like this. But as you can see, you can apply a lot of pressure on multiple lanes at the same time. The archers would have to focus fire different targets consistently, and it's very difficult to back block simply because you get vision behind you and you blight the passages, and you can apply pressure on some of the lanes at the same time. And then you can wait for full recovery up here. The archers would have to be forced down to the lane on the bottom in order to defend this. And then, when the archers leave, you can go back and you can pressure this again. So that's the basics of split pushing. I hope that helped. And if you use this to... if you use this wisely, it can be very helpful. But you can also be at great risk if you mismanage your tools, or if you get too greedy and push without vision or blight, or go in without cover. And if the elves are attentive and punish this, then that will cost you a lot of lives. Alright, I hope that's helpful. That's all for this guide. Thank you for watching, and see you another time.